says I'm live. What are the odds? What's going on, everybody? Whoa. Just gonna see if wait till some people file in here a little bit. I know that I normally start with the show with a quote, but so let's see if I can think of any good quotes to start the show with. I think I've used this quote before, but it's fresh on my brain, and it's by Mark Twain. It goes something like, "I've suffered a great many tragedies in my life. Fortunately, none of them ever happened." Something like that, and it has to do with worrying and anxiety about the future. You know, because when you worry about it, it causes all this harm or whatever, and freak out and you get all tense, and you're like punishing yourself for a mistake you didn't even make yet. It's crazy. Oh, we got some people in here. I don't even know if I can see the chat. I don't know what's going on. It looks like they changed some things around. I wasn't even able to upload the cool thumbnail I had. I don't know. I just decided to do this on fly, but I always have a thumbnail just in case. And I keep my mics in the car just in case I want to, do it. Let's see if I can find the chat. Maybe it won't show it to me. I don't know. I guess not. It's kind of strange, huh? Well, it says there's 3 people here. Let me see what these buttons do. Let's see. Share. No, we did that. At least 1 minute. Okay, I don't want to highlight anything. Wow. I guess I can like my own video. Can I do that? Where can I see the chat? It's crazy. You guys are probably telling me how to see the chat or why I can't see the chat right now, and I can't figure it out because I can't see it. But anyway, that's all right. You know what? I really can't. I'm allegedly driving. I just have a studio set up. I'm not really driving, everybody. I mean, that would be crazy to drive and live stream, right? So I can't really pay attention to the chat. That's what I was saying. But I have a lot of things on my mind, so I figured I'd live stream about them instead of just sitting here. A lot of times I'll drive and listen to things, but a lot of times I'll just drive in silence. And sometimes I let my brain wander, or sometimes I just try to let things go. And it's kind of like a meditation, a driving meditation. Like thoughts come in, I let them go. People pull up in front of me, I just let them go. There's a red light, I just let it go. It's, if you let it go, officer, I was letting the red light go. Listen, it's a strict spiritual practice. How dare you question my religion, officer? I'm allowed to run red lights. So I don't know if you guys, I'm gonna start this. There's 4 people here that I can't see. This is great. It's like a new practice. I have to let go of wanting to know what you guys are saying to me. So I don't know if you guys watched the show Lost, but recently I got into it, and Sharon, if you watch this, we'll probably talk about it in an upcoming show. We might have talked about it. I can't remember, but it's really good. There's a lot of esoteric symbolism and stuff in it. And it was a TV show that was on, I'm shaking right now, huh? That was on actual television, so like network. So there's not a lot of like super violence or nudity or anything. I mean, there's like violence, obviously, but so that's cool. And there's also, though, an element for people who are normies that will love it. We're so cool because we're esoteric. Well, I'll just say it this way: the esoteric and the exoteric alike will enjoy the show. So if you have a partner or somebody who's not exactly a nerd or into symbolism or these things like you are, you guys can both watch it. It's cool, and I find that it looks like it's appealing for men and women. And then they have Korean characters, and they have a whole Korean storyline and all this stuff. It's really cool. So anyway, the reason I want to talk about it is because it's not because I found this great wisdom in the show or something blew my mind. It's because there's this Australian character. I forget her name. She's the pregnant one. I'm not going to really spoil anything because, like, in the first episode, you see that she's pregnant. Anyway, she's from Australia, has a super Australian accent, and there's a character named Charlie. He's the guy who was in the Lord of the Rings. He was the Hobbit, and he's plays a washed-up rock star or whatever that was on the plane. And he's so when she's talking to him, she's always like, Charlie. She's like, Charlie. And I got to work on the Charlie. And I was watching, I was just like, it was so funny. It was annoying, but it was hilarious at the same time. So I was driving one other time and I was feeling super musical. That's another thing I do sometimes when I drive. I just sing. And most of the times when I'm making up songs, they're funny. So I decided I'd share one with you today. And it's about Charlie. And so I got to remember her name. The lady, I can't even think of her name. We're probably putting it in the chat. But I can't. Thumbs up, everybody. The song I made up was because she's like, Charlie, why'd you take my baby? She's all upset. So I'm all like, when I think of that one and make it musical, and I'm going to be like, a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Here we go. Charlie, why'd you take my baby? I mean, it's so Australian. She's like, Charlie, why'd you take my baby? Charlie, why'd you take my baby? And I'll just drive down the road like that for an hour and just keep singing it. Maybe not an hour. And then I was improvising lyrics, but I can't remember the lyrics right now. So anyway, I hope you guys like my Lost song. I have an idea, I can even make a Lost musical or my own sections of video that I'll just put on YouTube, that if you're watching Lost, then you can put it on. So you can be like, oh, when this happens, episode whatever, 6 at, 6 minutes and 20 seconds, play this. And then you see her like, Charlie, why'd you take my... And then you'll play my song like, Charlie, why'd you take my baby? I mean, it's got so much potential. It's so catchy. I DJ'd an entire wedding, 2 weddings this weekend, and when I was done and throughout it, I was still, despite playing all this other music, I was still singing Charlie. So either, I have something funny that people like, or I might just go insane and end up in a mental institution and just in a padded cell being like, Charlie. But either way, it'll be fun for me. So, I hope you guys are doing well out there. I think it's time to take my hair down. I learned this new... It's so funny because I just grew up 19, and so I don't know all the tips and tricks of having long hair because, we were born. If you're, let's say, for example, a lot of females a lot of women in our society have long hair, so they know what it's like to have long hair their whole lives. Me, I just had a little long in high school, and then I went to the Marine Corps. And then basically after I got out, I kept it pretty short. Sometimes I grow it a little long on top, but maybe a couple inches. So in 2019, I just started letting it grow. And then you guys know what happened in 2020. So it's not like I was around a lot of people for advice. So I just figured it out. And one thing I learned, and I'm learning things every day. I'm like, oh, one thing I learned recently was how to put it in a bun. Just twist it or whatever, and so this way I can get it out of my way if I have things to do. Before that, I discovered giant hair clips, which are awesome for me because I'm a giant. So it's all coming together now. Now I don't look so homeless when I have my hair up around. But anyway, I entitled today's episode "Being the Bigger Man" because I find in many situations, my advice for people. This is why I hate to give advice, because they're like, well, how do I deal with the situation if I'm frustrated or whatever? And I'm always like, be the bigger man. But that's easy for me because I'm 6'5". So in most situations, I am the bigger man. But I did find myself confronted with this guy who was 6'9", so I just kicked him in the knees, and then I was the bigger man again. So I'll wait for you guys to stop laughing. I know you probably spit out your drinks. I'm so hilarious. Anyway, but for reconnecting, I'm back. Okay, I thought I was going to have to sing the reconnection song. It's been a while, because it's been a while since I live streamed, so since I have to sing that song. But being the bigger man or woman, it's not literally being bigger. It's really just about, I heard it said this way: if you're the most conscious person in any relationship, then you should be the bigger person. So any relationship could be a love relationship, a friendship. The guy at Walmart, wherever you go and hang out. The guy at McDonald's. It's gonna start triggering people. The guy at anyway, Aleister Crowley, whoever. So if you think someone's like evil or being immature or not doing the work, and they're the ones who are the issue in this situation, whatever this relationship you have is, or interaction or whatever, the thing that you could do is to choose to be the bigger person. Because if you see their faults, first of all, it's always easier to see faults in other people. And especially as you look into a lot of the spiritual work or occulted work or hermeticism, or whatever you want to call it, religion, even if you're Christian or whatever it is, and you start to clean up your act and you start to change your behavior, you'll see it more in other people. And especially when you learn about things like projection, then you're like, oh, you're just projecting onto me. But I feel like you're still pointing the finger. So that's where the turmoil comes. That's where the suffering comes, as Buddhists would say, right? The turmoil's still coming because you still have issues. But when you learn to become the bigger person, I think that's when that goes away, because it might not make it easier, but as you start to look at yourself as less of a victim, what really happens is you start to see the bigger picture, and then it really doesn't matter. I mean, I'm just all speaking from personal experience, but that's why I'm talking about this stuff. And again, if this doesn't seem like your path or whatever, then just keep doing it. Do whatever you're doing. Keep doing it till you're done. But the point I'm really trying to make is that if you could try to, and it's really about being in the present moment, because first of all, you have to be in the present moment to even realize what's going on with the interaction, because most times our interactions are kind of on an unconscious level. I feel like we're just running off these scripts of who we think we are and what answers we think we should give, kind of. So, and it's also when we're having a conversation, like even this conversation we're having with YouTube and everybody out there, and nobody out there, if anyone's even in there, it's really a conversation with myself. As I like to say, at the end of the day, just that phrase, that's all as I like to say, at the end of the day is what I like to say. But at the end of the day, it's did I just lose? Oh yeah. So even if it's, what was I saying about being by yourself? Sorry guys, I got distracted. It often happens, but really the overall point I'm making with the situation is, if you could be the bigger person in any interaction, that's what I was saying, being in the present moment, right? So you have to, it's easier to work on this stuff when you can cultivate an awareness to be in the present moment. And then, so what I do is, it's kind of like I find myself in conversations, even if I'm already having the conversation, I'll kind of wake up to the present moment and be like, oh, what am I even saying? This is kind of silly, or, what's going on? I want this interaction to be over with, if it's like someone harassing me or whatever. Or I'm trying to make a connection here, or whatever it is. So when I have that moment and I kind of wake up to the present moment, what I'll do is try to find the way that I could be the bigger person. Now, this doesn't always happen. It's a practice, so it's not like I'm we're perfect here. Well, but we are, aren't we all perfect? And maybe I could shift gears by talking about that, because I feel like talking about this stuff, it always feels like preaching also. And I know that a lot of people that watch this stuff, it's like preaching to the choir, which is great because you guys get it. But I want to shift gears and talk about something that's related also, but it's another way to do this. So you could just do what I said and try to be the bigger person in every situation and grow that way. But there's several ways to grow and several different practices that you could try. And another one, it's not even really like a practice, but I've been listening to a lot of Alan Watts lectures lately. He's really been resonating with me, and something that he constantly drones on about like a maniac, which I love him for, is the fact that we're all perfect. And I really like it because he even comes at it from like a physical, from somebody who's a materialist, from their point of view, to try to, and that I like to do that too, to people, be like, listen, this isn't just like, woo-woo stuff. You can even look at this from a materialistic or physical point of view, and it makes sense too. And it really is that. The way I like to sum it up is, if I'll say the world's perfect, and people be like, how dare you? And then, this is something when I talk about publicly, it's like, I'm going to offend you. Why? Because I'm going to say something that's really true, and you're going to fucking hate it. You're going to get offended. And truth is the most offensive thing that I found. And that truth is that the world is perfect, and to make a claim. And you, whoever listening to this is, and me, are all perfect. And we're exactly where we need to be and doing exactly what we need to do in order to get where we're going. Now, maybe just saying that, it makes sense to you, but if to dig deep a little further, I could say that being who we are as men and women, we have this limited perspective of time. I mean, we even, time, they say is like made up or whatever, but let's just say on history, where we have limited perspective because we have this lifespan that we live and everything. Now, if you can imagine you were a being that maybe lives for 500 or 1,000 or, let's say 10,000 years somehow, or even a tortoise that lives 500 years, right? You're going to have this perspective that's totally different. 10 years to you is, or 50 years, 100 years is a lot different to a being that has a lifespan of like 80 to 100 or 120 years. Like that 100 years is their whole life. But for someone who lives, or a being that say lives for 500 years, it's like 10 years to them. And then a being that lives for 10,000 years, 100 years is like nothing, right? It's like 5 minutes or whatever. Don't check my math. It's close enough. So this perspective that we have, this turmoil that we perceive in the world, we look out in the world and we see turmoil, and, it's hard to argue that it's not crazy out there. But if you take the analogy, so even of like a fruit fly, right, has this really short lifespan. If the fruit fly was sitting next to you, you guys are chilling, and you threw a rock into a pond, that the ripples of that rock might last for that entire fruit fly's life. Say he's a smoker, he's a fruit fly, and he smokes and he parties really hard. He's going to even have a shorter lifespan. So say you're partying with a fruit fly, and this guy's just like, and he's probably partying hard. He's a fruit fly. Think about it, right? So you're partying with this fruit fly, and he's just born. You throw a rock into a pond, and he's like, whoa, look at these waves, and they last his whole life. So for him, that rock in the pond is turmoil. Say you're on a raft with this fruit fly. He's just like, holy shit. But for you, in like 10 minutes, maybe less, all those ripples subside and the pond is calm again for like forever or whatever, until for the rest of the day, you'll say, or whatever. It's a nice day. So your perspective is, oh, well, big deal. It's just some waves. Well, think about it this way. So in the grand scale of men and women and mankind or whatever, all these things that happen, especially just the daily troubles and like the issues that we have in our lives, they're just like rocks that fall in a pond, especially if you are somebody who has the view that, you know, there's something after we die. No matter what that view is, if you believe that we are eternal or a piece of something eternal, then I mean, that's right there. That shouldn't matter to you anyway, right? That's that whole point. But so anywho, bringing all that back, I wish I could check on the chat. I hope you guys are doing well. I think it's been long enough that I've been chatting without having a sip of something to drink. What is that? There's something flying in the sky too. Is that an eagle? It's either really large. Oh no, it's a vulture. Yeah, he was flapping a lot though, so I didn't think it was a vulture because they usually coast. He was getting up there though. I saw him spread his finger feathers on the ends. So that's really what it is, right? It's all about perspective. And if you could see that everything that's going on now is a cause of what happened before, and we're kind of just riding the waves, and you can gain that perspective, what really happens is you lead to this perspective that you just want to make the best of every situation, and you're like, start to be grateful for things, and you realize that there are so many other positive things to focus on, and not really that it's all about being positive all the time, because I feel like it's more of an acceptance of the way things are, and then you don't have to suffer because you're like, you know, why are people dying in this other country? Well, it's a great mystery in the Christian Bible. You know, God says, I am the good and the evil. I control it all, baby. I'm the big kahuna. That's me. That's why they call me God. So don't worry about it. I got a plan. And when you doubt that plan, guess what? That's when you're sinning. Because you're doubting God. So enough preaching. Alan Watts. So that whole point about being perfect, this is kind of the point of view. And that's why I said all that. This is what he means when we're perfect. And to take it even further, or the world is perfect, but to take it even further, and it's not like Alan Watts made this up, you know, it's a lot of Zen, a lot of Taoism, and this is something we cover on the Oversharing Show. We're going through every verse of the Tao. We've been going through, we're 53, I believe. We've gone through every verse, 4 different versions of each verse. There's a tire in the road. That was nice. Yeah, so check them out. Check that out, the Oversharing Show. It's on this channel. If you haven't heard of it, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of it. Where have you even been if you haven't heard of the Oversharing Show? I mean, honestly, we're like the best underground thing ever, and I hope it stays that way forever because we love you guys. Anyway, 5 people in here, 5 likes. That's what I like to see. 55. What time is it? 2:10. And it's 23:41 since I've been going. We add all those numbers up, and that means I'm awesome. And it's exactly what I wanted to talk about, which was Alan Watts' message. And again, he's just like an aggregate of information, right? He spent all this time in India, Japan, and all these countries because he's this great dude. But you don't have to go do that. You could just listen to his stuff, and you don't even have to do that. You can listen to people like me and like the Oversharing Show. We are aggregates, and we aggregate it down even further for people who don't have as much time as us. And then if it makes sense, they can go look at, that's what I always say, if you want to, you know, you listen to what we say, or I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but if you're not watching the Oversharing Show, you're just fucking up, all right? But anyway, what I think what people do is, you know, watch the show, and then if we bring up a topic that they're really interested in, super interested, then they can dive further. And Sharon is great. She always puts links to everything in the stuff. Shout out to Sharon. It's amazing. We're one heck of a team, I tell you. So Alan Watts, and his message basically is that you're perfect. I'm perfect. He's perfect. You're perfect. And what made sense to me about that, I have this handkerchief here so this thing doesn't shake as much. It's too hard to explain. It keeps falling. Oh, there we go. That should stay. So, yeah, anyway, Alan Watts' whole message is about the fact that you're perfect. And what resonated with me was, like, for an example, if you're overweight, because I used to be over whatever the hell it is, right? If you want to lose weight or whatever. When I weighed more and stuff and I wanted to lose weight, I probably lost like 30 pounds or something. So, and I'm 6'5", so on me, it didn't, it wasn't whatever. I get it. But if you want to lose weight, and I tried a few different ways the first time, I basically starved myself and put myself on this diet. And I ate all the stuff that you were supposed to eat back in the day, when it was good. Like, have a salad and fucking starve yourself. And you want to stay away from fats because they're terrible, all that stuff. And I went to the gym. So that worked. And I toned up and lost weight. But I always had a pretty good metabolism. And I just realized, I think it was because I was eating junk, So I just stopped eating junk. And then, the second time was, so I stopped doing all that for a little while. I gained a little weight, whatever. It wasn't terrible, but I just started doing this like butter coffee thing, and just eating less. And now I basically just eat like once a day, and I pretty much I try to eat clean or whatever, but I eat whatever I want for dinner, and then some snacks that I've been able to maintain. So that was the second time. And I feel like the first time I was, I saw that a change needed to be made. I was like, what's wrong with this? There's something wrong with me. And then the second time, and it's lasting, and I don't even really have to do anything or try. It's just something that I've incorporated into my life, was to see that, my body is perfect. Even any imperfections I have, like fat or whatever, like, these things. It's like, no, that's perfect. And as I saw it as perfect, it kind of went away. And that's really the core message of what Alan Watts is saying. And to dissect it and go back further, kind of backtrack on how he got there. He makes these logical points. Shout out to Leaf Only, by the way. I told him I'd give them shout outs all the time. I was in there the other day. I get my organic tobacco there. It's really good. You can get organic flute, organic Canadian Virginian flute, or American Virginian flute. I don't know. I might fuck that up. But anyway, I like the Canadian one. So check it out. Canada's one thing right, at least, I guess. But so to backtrack on Alan Watts' message, I don't think this thing is lit. That's my fault, though. Not the great folks at Leaf Only. They just provide the leaves, and then what you do with them is on you. So you can't be pointing the finger, it's on you. You get full, whole leaves, and you got to take the stems out. It's really cool. It's a whole adventure. It feels like when I smoke, it's like the result of this process that I had to go through. It's pretty cool. And if you'd like to have that process, go to Leaf Only. I think it's leafonly.com. And tell them I sent you. Tell them a crazy guy comes in there, a tall guy with long hair, it's always podcasting, sent you. I don't think I'll get anything, but maybe they'll give me some leaves. I don't know. But anyway, Alan Watts' message, to backtrack on the fact that we're perfect, and my little example, because he was saying, we have this ego that we have, like this person who we think we are. And this person who we think we are, it's not a bad thing. It's how we get around in the world. It's how we learn to cope. And I don't think it should be destroyed, this ego or whatever you want to label. But I think it's cool to realize that that's not all who we are. And that if the ego or the person you are has this idea that it wants to improve, his whole point is how can it improve? Because if if it's deficient and it has a blind spot or an error or whatever, how can it improve itself? It can't really improve itself. His whole point is that it can only, the only thing that it could do really is to realize that it's perfect, and then it wouldn't have a problem. So if you have a problem, the only thing to do is realize it's not a fucking problem, and it's in your life for a reason. I'm talking to myself here, guys. Don't worry. When I get fired up now, I'm just getting fired up with myself. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I used to carry around the Incredible Hulk when I was 5. And I would wear purple, and I would tell people, I just don't want to get mad, guys. This is a great life. I want to just hang out with the butterflies and the frogs. Don't put me in a school. No. So your problems aren't problems, basically, is what he's saying. And, I'm not trying to make claims here. Maybe they are. But could it be that your problems aren't problems? They're just, let's say, the universe or God or an angel trying to give you a message of an area where you need to look at or possibly let go of something, or you have some kind of emotional thing, or you're taking something personally. When, remember, never take anything personally. Why? It was in that great book, The 4 Agreements, and then again in that 5th Agreement book. It's amazing. That other one, The Art of Self-Mastery, I think it's called. Why would you take things personally when you already learned in those books that everyone's just having a conversation with themselves? They only have an idea of who you are in their head. They don't know the real you. But what happens is when they say something to you, you mistakenly, falsely give them the power of thinking you think that they know who you are, and they're speaking your soul because you're relying on their validation, which is fine. It's okay. We do it. It happens all the time. But it doesn't have to happen. That's what I'm saying. Because if you realize you're perfect, then you wouldn't have to look outside for that validation. And you would start listening to your own intuition. And then your intuition, I feel, would guide you to make better decisions. You listen to that, that feeling inside that you pushed down and repressed in school, because in school they're like, fucking sit there. No, I'm not a victim, guys. I'm glad I went through all that stuff. I mean, I was even in the Marine Corps. I wrote about it. Shadowworked.com. You can get the PDF and EPUB there for $11.11, a donation of $11.11, and you can make me smile, because every time someone buys a book, I'm like, yay. So I wrote about my experiences in the Marine Corps, and I said, I talked about the way that they train people, and what they do is they just, well, they don't just, but it's a method of training, I'm sure, that's worked well for many armies and military forces for probably thousands of years, but you always punish everybody for the mistakes of one person in the group. So what ends up happening is the group starts to self-correct because they don't want to get punished anymore. And it's not really even a bad thing, because then the guys that are doing better, whatever, the people who are doing better, oh yeah, all right, we're doing it now. The people, I'm actually a good driver, everybody. I promise. The people who are doing better can help the ones who are doing, and since those people are in that same situation, well, a boot camp, we're all going through the same thing. The ones who are doing better and excelling can now take time because they're done faster and help the people who are doing worse and having a problem. And who better to explain it better than a person who's in the same situation, who's equal rank to you, who you don't have to worry about, yes sir and all that too. Who better to teach that skill to than that person to you or whatever. So it does work. And I even said, I'm like, listen, I'm the one who signed up for the Marine Corps. I put my name on that dotted line. I signed my life away. Quick side, I was talking about that the other day because I was talking to somebody about a mortgage, and they were looking at houses, and they were like, oh, I got to sign this thing. And I'm like, yeah, that you're kind of signing your life away when you get a mortgage, kind of. But I'm like, I literally signed my life away. Like when you join the Marines, I mean, I guess you can there's ways to get out if you really want to get out, but it's you know, they got you. They're like, you know, one of the things they'd always say is like, your soul might belong to Jesus, but your ass belongs to the core. If you'd seen Full Metal Jacket, shout out to Joe and Jeff, who did a show about Full Metal Jacket. You go check it out on this playlist, the Brando Bonanza playlist. So anyway, boot camp aside, I was talking about that stuff, and I was just basically talking about being a victim, and I'm not a victim. If you could start to see that, though, and we talk about this a lot, but if you could start to see that in the world, that you're not really a victim, that you have a lot of opportunities open to you, you're just blind to them because you feel like you're a victim, and it just takes you taking a leap of faith and going out and doing things like, you know, for me, stand-up comedy, I had to just go fucking do it, and I loved it. I still love it, in fact. So, or whatever it is, podcasting, or, you know, DJing, or driving, you know, to drive. Let's think about it. Most people watching this probably drive, except for if there's a bot in here from like India, maybe you don't drive. But listen, it looks really scary, but I mean, well, in India, it's probably crazy. So never mind. Don't drive in India. But remember before you knew how to drive and it was scary, and then you had to get on the highway for the first time, and, you know, or people who drive a motorcycle like I do, that was really scary. Anything like that in life, it's going to be scary at first, but that's good. It's how you know you're out of your comfort zone. Just listen to your intuition, which you can do when you stop thinking that you have all these problems. I should make another website called More Problems, More Laws. My website, morelawsmoreproblems.com. That is the one that exists now. What I should probably do is stop making websites. But yeah, more problems, more laws, because the more problems you perceive out there in the world, the more laws for yourself you're going to try to make. And as above, so below, same thing with society. The more problems people perceive out there, the more laws they're going to push to get passed. So it goes, you know, it works forward and backwards. Often I find, just to invert things, to look at it apophatically, if you will, in the negative, from that angle. Why not? It's just like a debate. It's the same thing. And if you could wrap your mind around both sides, you can get a true comprehension. Connecticut, it went from being chilly to now I'm like sweating. What is going on? I got the chills. I got the fever chills. It's the sun. It's that summer sun. Don't let it fool you. It's not done yet. It's just not humid, but through glass, it'll still get you. It'll still get you. I got a lighter here somewhere. Oh, I think it just hit the floor. So that's all I'm trying to say. I hope you guys like that message. You know, I still have a few minutes left, though. I'm not getting out of here. Not getting out of here just yet, everybody. And if I can figure out a way to pause this, I might come back. You might see me again. Who knows? I mean, or we can all be dead in 5 minutes. I mean, I can't tell you. All I can say is be ready. Now I feel like I'm just getting off left field. But that whole thing of perfect, I mean, I hope I explained it well. I can talk about it all day. It relates back to what I've been also speaking about recently with the symbolic reality and real reality. Just like speaking right now, we're having a symbolic conversation. We're not existing in the real reality. Well, simultaneously we are. Duh. But when I talk to you and when you talk to me, we're having a symbolic conversation. Now, if we were just to sit in a room and do art or hang out or meditate or do drugs, yeah, man, shoot up some fucking vape, some cocaine. You guys ever vape cocaine? For those who know, you know. If you don't know, it's not what you think. But when I was in Maine, I just spent 2 weeks in Maine. I want to talk about that too. We saw, let me just finish up the whole symbolic reality thing. So really just having this conversation is simple. So, I'm like, oh, that's a car, and that's a tree, and that's a road. But it's not really. Those are just energy that's slowed down forming this thing for me. Or is it all just in my head? I don't really know. But that's what I call it, so I can communicate it to you guys. And that's why it's a symbolic conversation. If we were just to sit in a room and meditate, hang out, or watch a movie, a silent movie would be even better, or whatever, have an experience, then we would be hanging out in real reality. And there's nothing wrong with symbolic reality. Again, everybody, when they find these things out, they always want to demonize one thing and say the other one's better. It's just about knowing the difference and realizing it and being in the present moment, right? Maybe. I don't know. Who am I? Those who know don't talk. I'm just scatting everybody. Skiddly doo dat bat and Christopher Reeve. Sony Bono, something, and hitting trees. How does that Eminem line go? So my Maine trip was fun. It was amazing. It was amazing. We found this. Allegedly found this. We got these pre-rolls of the cannabis at a dispensary. One of them was snow cane. Snow. I was like, now. So now I was all like, I can vape with cocaine almost. I can vape snow cane. I was like, I gotta send it in chat. Warlock's chat. I wonder if I can even go back and should I even go back and watch the chat? Should I just take someone's word for it? I wonder if somebody had to be kicked out. Were there bots? Can I still get to the chat? Let me see. Now, if I hit that X, I'll probably end the show. Well, Maine was great, beautiful. It reminds me, I've been telling people, it reminds me of Connecticut in the 90s, the way people are, but there's just more trees, a lot more trees. I mean, Connecticut in the 90s had more trees than it does now too, but even all those trees, Maine has more than them now. So go to Maine, everybody, if you like trees. If you like trees, get down to Maine. They got a lot of them, but it's up north, so you probably got to go up to Maine. But I don't know how this realm works. Maybe you got to go left to Maine. You think you're going north, but you're really going left. You're silly. North isn't even real. It's in your head. But yeah, the people there were really cool. I found the division wasn't as crazy politically too, which is nice. Because it looked like there was like super hippies and then super Trump people too. But they all seem to be getting along fine. Maybe not as polarizing up there because there's so much space. I think that's what it is. There's more space, so people, like, if it takes you like 30 minutes to get to Walmart, you're not as fired up if you're driving through all these trees by the time you get there, You're like, these fucking immigrants. And then you drive through the woods. Or on the other hand, you're like, these fucking racist Trump supporters, they hate gay people. And then you drive through the woods for 30 minutes and you're like, it's not that bad. Whereas here in Connecticut, you're like, and then you just drive through this fucking traffic and you're like, I think I figured it out. Oh shit. Maybe that's why I'm not as effective, because I used to be so affected by the traffic, but now I'm just like, whatever. It's perfect. Right? I don't know. Is that an early 90s Dodge Neon in front of me? Whoa. It's like a 95, mid-90s Dodge Neon green. Thing is in nice shape, too. It feels like I'm in a 91 Buick, so this is great. Feels like we're in the 90s again. That Audi up there just ruined it. Nice job, Audi. Should have been like an older one. Anyway, so yeah, I bet that's what it is. I mean, it's not really rocket science. Less people. It's cool though. We went blueberry. We did a bunch of stuff. Blueberry picking. We just ate all these blueberries. There's a really cool guy named Cub. He looked like he was Amish adjacent. There was Amish up there. We saw him riding around on their horse and buggies. I didn't get a chance to purchase anything from the Amish though. Unfortunately, we were just, the only day we really could have was Sunday, but they ain't selling nothing on Sundays. They're selling God on Sundays. No, They don't sell God, I don't think, though. They're pretty cool. They don't try to push their ways on you. Which is, I mean, you know, I think they get it. It's not, it's like, how could they sell that? You know, do you want to come here and not have any electricity? I mean, to me, it sounds fucking great, but I mean, I couldn't do this then, right? I would just be podcasting for like 4 guys named like Jebediah and like Hezekiah and Isaac. I'm like, hello, everybody. This is Brando. Welcome back to my podcast. I mean, it gets to be the same because there's like 3 people in here now. So instead of doing digitally, you just be in front of me. But at least more people can watch this later. So yeah, what else? Maine, we went to this old mica mine. They used to mine mica in the 50s and 60s for the government. Well, this guy, I guess, owned all this land, and he was a tree guy. He was a lumberjack kind of guy. And we heard all this from his 2 sons that gave a tour. You can get a tour of the mine. It's really cool. And they used to mine mica for the government because they used it in all their electronics and stuff, and they were making all this money. And then the government stopped in like the early 60s, and the mine just kind of went dead. And they tried a few times. But what the cool thing is, they'll let you go through all the tailings. They have all the mine tailings. So when they blew out all the shafts, they dumped all the stuff on the side of the mountain. And they set up these fire hoses and make these streams or whatever, and you can hoe through it and get tools and whatever. And so we got like 3 small, like, these buckets. They're like for fluffernutter or whatever. But they're pretty good size, like for restaurant buckets, full of just quartz, smoky quartz, some garnets, green apatite. They had graphic granite, which is, I just learned about. It's pretty cool. It's like granite with quartz in it, but like layering. So, and it looks like writing. It's really cool. Looks like writing, everybody. It definitely wasn't from a past civilization. How dare you? The garnets. The garnets in Maine. We were partying pretty hard, and we stumbled in the yard. We found all these garnets everywhere. It was great. So yeah, the garnets, we got some cool garnets. I got a top of a garnet that's like about this big. It's like about 1.5 inches. It's just like, it's cool though. The top, like the shiny gem part, it's not, well, it's not polished, but it's really cool. I found that. What else did I find? I found some really cool things. Nice hunk of clear quartz, like really big. I guess there's no tourmaline where they are. Maine's like famous for tourmaline. They have black tourmaline. We found some really cool black tourmaline. Blackety black tourmaline. Found a nice chunk of black tourmaline on a trail too. That's this other trail just go hiking, and we ended up just not even finishing because we were picking up so many rocks. It's great. I just love being in the woods. So that was a lot of fun, and it was only like $30 each or something for the tour, and everybody else canceled because it was raining a little bit, but then it stopped, and it wasn't sunny, so it was perfect. And yeah, everyone else canceled, so they took us up there. It was really cool, and we got to hang out with the 2 brothers as they told us about their mine and all these stories. And they also were looking for things, and everything they found they gave to us, like when they found garnets and stuff. I mean, if they found like a giant garnet, they probably would have kept it, but they told us like neither, because one is married and one has a girlfriend, and they said neither of them are allowed to bring home any more rocks. It's funny. And near the mine, so they drove us to the top of this mountain or hill or whatever. It's kind of a decent sized hill, and they had a really great view. It's all open, and they had a cabin up there, a small cabin and stuff filled with rocks. Like the porch just had all this mica all over it, like clear, big sheets of just clear mica. It was amazing, thick too. And I guess they said that some of the best mica in the world came out of that mine. That's what they were telling them, because I guess now they get a lot of, he looked into it in the early 2000s to get it going, but they get all the mica out of India now. It's like, since it's so plentiful, they're kind of destroyed. Even all the mines here, they just import it from India and sell it for whatever they need. All the companies that used to have mines now. So still great potential, though. They had a whole side of the mountain where this guy had one of those giant, like, thing on two tank tracks with a center little cockpit, and it's got the giant arm that scoops. I forgot what they're called. And they started setting it up where they can, like, drive. They were making a road down like a zigzag, and then they got to a point where that payloader thing or whatever couldn't get back up, so it had to drive down the side of the mountain. He was telling us about it. But they haven't even gone through those tailings yet. They haven't even started, so I could just imagine what's in that stuff. So anytime I go to Maine, I would love to hit that place up, because all the stuff we got, you can tumble it, you can polish it, you can just keep it as it is. You can make art with it, sell it like that, just, use it to decorate your house, your garden. I mean, it's just amazing. But anyway, so that was Maine. We went up to Moosehead Lake. Also, we stayed in central Maine around like Mercer area or Starks, Farmington, or like kind of near Augusta, a little north of Augusta. People know that. And then we went up to Moosehead for a weekend, or for a week. Yeah, I guess about a week. We stayed a week in that area, the central area, and then we went for a week up to Moose Poop Lake, as this guy we met told us. We met this guy on the side of the road. He had this barn. Well, he had a house, but a barn attached right on the side of this main road where the speed limit was like 55. It was crazy. You just pull right off, and he had a whole barn full of crystals. The guy's been collecting his whole life, and he's 73. And apparently he's like, knows people all around the world because he cuts them too. And he had just these trays of amazing, like, tourmalines and opals and all these things he did and polished. He took this one opal and like pieced it together. It was amazing. And so and he only took cash. So we went back there. Shout out to that guy. Listen, if you want to find out who that is, you have to hit me up. I'm not giving that secret away. The stuff he has in there, I still plan on going back and buying stuff. Really cool old guy, though. And he told us about his experience he had where he was like transcendental meditating, and he met God. God told him about the devil and all this stuff. And it was great. It's kind of like listening to a podcast when I was hanging out with him, because you didn't really get a lot of words in edgewise. But I think because I am such an avid listener and I just accept whatever people say, I try to do it just from podcasting and stuff, getting that experience. He saw how open I was, and he just kept going. It was great. And then he was really cool. So yeah, shout out to William. Crazy Bill, love you. I should try to get him on the podcast, man. It probably would still be going if I had him on the podcast. And we got home from Maine last Monday. Podcast would still be going. Even to get out of there, like he followed us to the car, was talking. It was great. We like rolled down the windows, like, all right, we really gotta go. But no, he was a cool guy. That was the first time we were there, but the second time we went back, he was much more chill. I just think he was afraid we weren't going to come back. He's like, I need to see you guys. Yeah, so overall, it was a really cool trip. We brought all 4 kitties with us, and we had no issues with the cats at all. They were great. We just let my 2 black cats hang out in the car. We had carriers for her. We just let them hang out, and her 2 just hung out in one big carrier, and they just hung out with each other. Mine just walked around the car until they settled down, and it was fine. Anyway, I'm where I need to be, so I'm going to get going for now. I might get back on after this. If I do, I'll see you then. If I don't, hey, thanks for checking out the Brandon Bonanza show. Make sure you check out the Over Sharon show every Thursday. This Thursday, though, it's probably going to just be a Brandon Bonanza, because this is my fault. I went on vacation, and then Sharon went after, and hers was more planned. Mine was kind of more last minute, so we didn't have enough time to record to cover every, but it's just one, so don't worry, guys. Sharon will be back. Oh my God, my mileage is 85,888 right now. 85,888.3, which, if you know, 588 is a 3. That's crazy. I bought this car with 68,000 miles. It's a 91. That was almost 2 years ago. Crazy, huh? Time flies when you're having fun. Well, thank you guys. Shout out to the chat, even though I didn't get to see it or partake, but I was in there. I was in the chat in spirit, everybody. I hope you guys had a good time. Go to morelawsmoreproblems.com for more, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.